You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. And Jim, I understand we have, wait for it, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. New Leger poll is just out. Jim, what do we find out?
I'm coming in hot with some heavy numbers here. Horrible numbers for Francois Legault. Basically, Leger is confirming what a Palace survey dropped over his head about a week and a half ago. They've got the Parti Québécois at 32%, a gain of 1 percentage point over last month. The CAQ is remaining stable at 25%. Québec Solidaire down a point at 16%. The Liberals owning the 15% slot. Nobody's touching them on that. And, of course, Eric James is in. For a guy who has got no seats in the National Assembly, he's only 4 points behind the Liberals, who have 19. He's got 11%. But the real numbers that should concern all of us, certainly our listeners, and those concerned about Quebec's political future, is that the PQ is carving away a big slice of Francophone voters. Yes, the all-important Francophone voters who, whether you like it or not, decide provincial elections here in Quebec. They are polling 38%, even higher than they are in terms of respondents' popularity overall. 38% with Francophone voters compared to 28% for the CAQ. So really, I'm beginning to perhaps think a little ray of sunlight, a dapple of sunlight, if you will, on all that obscurity yesterday that we were talking about. Why is Francois Legault meeting with the head of McGill University? Maybe Francois Legault realizes, because he's got his own polls as well, and this is a poll-obsessed party, maybe he's realizing it's time to hit reverse gear, hit it hard, because it looks like if he doesn't reverse this trend, it is going to become normal for the CAQ to trail the Parti Québécois by 10 points. The same way it was normal for the CAQ to be stratospherically high in the polls for the past, God help us, 6 years. It has turned on a dime, and it's turned very dramatically. And quite frankly, I think that Francois Legault is going to have to go into not damage control, full-blown survival mode, because I have a sneaking suspicion as well. Those among him in the CAQ are kind of looking at him, looking at his back and wondering, how long do I want this guy to be guiding my political future?
So I would simply ask then, you say they have their own internal polls, which we know, but I imagine they mirror what we have here today. Based on that, and I asked you this yesterday, I think, Jim, so based on these numbers continuing to look bad, does his meeting with McGill give him the opportunity to come back, to peel back a bit, or to double down?
I think he's going to have to peel back. He may double down, but I doubt it. That would be a really gratuitous act on his part yesterday, meeting with the president of McGill simply to double down. And I realize I'm the guy who says he always doubles down, but looking at these numbers, looking at the fact, my God, we have, as dismayed, Natasha, as you were, to realize we had like 2 full more years before the next election. That's how dismayed Legault is now, because he's realizing, how do I turn this around? I have dug such a political grave with my own mouth, with my own arrogance, with my own bullying, that it's going to be very tough for me to reinvent myself. But he's going to have to, because these numbers don't look like they're going to change. And as he told us at CJAD, as he told us at the Gazette, Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, head of the PQ, essentially saying, I'm doing well because people don't hate me. So there you go.
So first of all, I just want to ask, are you trying to make me cry again by reminding me that we're stuck with this government for 2
Yeah, but
years?
just think Francois Legault is crying even harder.
Okay, but then I want to ask you, any surprise that those numbers are stable? Yes, they stink, the numbers, but they're actually stable, whereas I actually would have anticipated them plummeting a little bit.
You know what? I got to tell you, it's funny you asked that question, because talk about damning with faint praise. The Leger pollsters are saying, because this was conducted over essentially the holiday period, the CAQ didn't really have a chance to dig itself in any deeper. So probably those numbers will go down on the next survey, but right now it's kind of a Christmas truce, or a post-holiday truce. They didn't have a chance to do anything particularly stupid to really sort of like tip them even further into the bottom end of the poll.
Oh, but they have
there's 12 months in a year.
Yeah.
I wonder, so we talk about what the CAC will do, what Francois Legault will do. Your PSPP here, you're looking at this, and I'm guessing your best strategy now is do nothing.
Absolutely. I got to tell you, I've said on this show many times that Pierre Poilievre's biggest political asset is Justin Trudeau, and right now, Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon's biggest asset is Francois Legault.
Yeah.
Never interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake, and that's all that Francois Legault seems to be doing these days.
All right, let's go on because we both love this story. This City
headline,
Montreal story, yeah.
And the way you put it, like just how big were the bar tabs at City Hall that they've now decided to go forth with initiative of a dry January, Jim.
Dry January, dry forever. They're telling people go back in there, find out what you paid on booze, and pay it back. And this is all the paramunicipal agencies and this and that. And of course, it is public posturing, and it's also, I guess, insurance against another bombshell dropping from God knows where when someone discovers that they forgot to get rid of those receipts and they'll have some ridiculously high expensive lunch. It has to be said, though, that in many cases, I'm not saying all the time, especially in a public agency, but in many cases as well, you should be able to pay for dinner, especially if it's with a client or someone who's dealing with the city, if only not to create that sense of indebtedness. But all that said, they're focusing on the booze. And I have to tell you, because, God love them over at CJAD, they actually have facsimiles. They have copies of the actual, cash, little credit card gizmo receipts. And I'm looking at that, and you know what? This story wouldn't be anywhere near as interesting if Montreal restaurants didn't mug people so blatantly for wine. I'm looking at those wine prices, and I'm saying, no, sir, absolutely not. This is ridiculous. I would have to be drinking liquid ambrosia, and I know it ain't it. But anyway, that's just an aside. That's just me.
I will tell you, there's one line in the story, right, in the Journal today that said, although it is a cheap wine,
yeah.
I love that line. The city pointed out they spent about $32,000 since 2016. Yeah. And by the way, beyond wine, I love the alcoholic coffees that they apparently have run up on their bill as well.
Good Lord. Can you imagine
there you
that?
Go.
Like 6 or 7. But, here's the thing, because I saw there were 2 bottles of wine. Yeah, they're ridiculously expensive. Came to $160 for the 2 bottles of wine. There were 6 people, okay? So basically, where I come from, 2 bottles of wine as 8 glasses of wine. So maybe, somebody had a top up. So I don't think it was, like crazy. Like it wasn't a bacchanal. But man, it's ridiculously expensive. And of course, the question is, would those men and women have chosen that wine if they were doing so on their own dime?
Yeah,
which apparently they are now.
Yeah. You know what the beauty of this is too, as you just said, all of this is now available and access to information. So this is a snowball down a mountain. You got to imagine there's going to be more coming, and it's going to be pretty embarrassing to somebody.
I mean, we're just paying attention to it now, but this is everybody always did this.
But that's the point, right?
But here's the beauty of it, Natasha, because now one of the new sort of like catchphrases in 20th century life is don't tweet anything you're not prepared to hear repeated in open court. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's the thing: don't file an expense account that you're not prepared to share with the general population, especially if you're in that line of work.
That's fair enough.
So, I mean, I guess in the end, it's good. I guess in the end, honest to God, it's not so much a matter of the money, because God knows, we complain about, the waste of money. Probably $100 million got wasted from the beginning of this show till the end of this show. We won't even know about it. But what gets me, guys, is that if it can fracture or shake or threaten the clear sense of entitlement that certain people had, that they could get away with this, then I think it's worth it. But on top of everything else, as I cannot lie, I'm just a simple human being. So sometimes I occasionally take joy from the misfortune of others. So it's just nice to see it happen to people who shouldn't have been getting away with it.
I mean, I still find myself, though, reminiscing about the good old days when once in a while I would get a nice lunch out on the Gazette's bill, or, like that. That was the norm. It was
the good old days.
Let me tell you something. You're talking to a guy who, would drink liquor and file expense accounts, sometimes both at the same time. and all that to tell you, those days are totally, utterly gone.
I know.
I remember it was Fat City, and you know what? Compared to this stuff, we were pretty tame, although sometimes things went, especially if you're on the road, sometimes things went a little over the top. But, we justify it by saying, it's private sector and blah, 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 blah. But all that said, that too was a certain sense of entitlement. And when the hammer came down, everyone behaved themselves and started looking over their shoulders. So I think it's overdue at City Hall. The only thing I hope is that the example spreads to other municipalities and indeed other levels of government.
Last line in this story, and then we got to go. The benefit of paying for alcohol is not worth the reputational risk.
Oh, that's true, I guess.
You leave it at that. Jim, thank you.
Demain.